Hey everybody, been a while since I've done this. Been feeling better. Depersonalization and anxiety has been pretty good lately, but I wanted to touch on this subject here about hell and what I think that actually means. I know that a lot of people kind of say hell is a place where God sends you and you burn and are tortured and pulled apart by demons or whatever, but I have an experience that I had a while ago where I believe I was shown a little bit of what that is actually like. So when I was getting sober, it was kind of a process. I just got out of a relationship and moved back home and was trying to get sober from Xanax, and I think it had probably been a couple of weeks, and I actually found since I used, and I found a Xanax bar in my room, on the shelf, and I was like, wow, I can't believe I forgot about that. I mean, I would never forget about Xanax, so I was completely surprised that I had. So I was like, oh, that'll be great. So I probably crushed it up and snorted it or something. And quickly after I did that, I fell asleep, which usually does not happen. I usually stay up really well on Xanax and try to go get more messed up. But when I fell asleep, I had a vision or a dream, and I remember waking up like I normally do in my bed, but when I woke up, everything was very gray, almost like looking through like a tinted gray piece of glass. And the I remember nothing had soul in it anymore. There was no breath. There was no life in anything. It was completely devoid of meaning, and it was absolutely empty. And I was terrified because I didn't know what was going on. I felt like I was more alone than I've ever been. I mean, there was nothing to connect to anymore. It was just me in my own poverty. That it was my soul, or whatever it was. I was stuck there um, with myself, but in the poorest sense, in the most poverty-stricken parts of myself. I was stuck there with those. There was nothing to rely on. There was no outside world. There was no gift. Everything has been pulled away. So I was floating around the house. Everything was gray. I couldn't touch or talk to anybody. I was still in my mom's house, and I was trying to get someone's attention. I couldn't even see anybody, but I remember my mom's door was locked, and I wanted to go upstairs to try to get them to try to get someone to talk to me, um, to let me know I was still in contact with, what we call reality. So I was knocking on the door, pounding on the door, and no matter how hard I would knock or anything, nothing was making sound. Um, and I remember just panicking because I was not in reality anymore. I was somewhere devoid of anything. So I was just terrified, panicking and trying to knock on doors and get someone's attention and floating around the house, whatever that means. I was purely felt like in spirit, soul form, and not attached to a body. And I was just trying to get a hold of somebody. No one would answer. Just floating around, trying to get anybody's attention, and that wasn't happening. So I I remember thinking that this was forever. I had no concept of time. There was no concept of anything. It was just I was in the present moment, but in the worst sense. Like a present moment that would never stop being presently horrible. It was awful. And I remember thinking, I'm going to be stuck here forever. There's going to be no one to talk to. There's going to be no blessings, no nothing. I was purely stuck in just sin, right? I mean, that's what you could say. The sin that is engraved in your soul. You're stuck with whatever it is, the consequences of your own actions or whatever. And I remember praying. And at this point, God has given me so many chances. I mean, the grace of the Lord has been more than anything I could ever ask for. I mean, He saved me multiple times. I mean, I overdosed and fell asleep in my clothes one time in my old house, and my mom saw me, took a picture. I looked half dead. And then right before she was getting ready to leave for work, she said, felt like somebody tapped her on her shoulder, and audibly heard something along the lines of you need to go get your son. And she went up and realized I wasn't waking up and grabbed my cousin, and they took me in the hospital, and they said I would have died if it wasn't. I was like doing methadone and Vicodin and a bunch of Suboxone and all this crazy stuff, and they said that I would have died if she would have left me there. So I mean, this has happened so many times. I mean, just the grace I've been given is anything I can imagine, or being worthy of. And I remember thinking like I just screwed myself because, you know, I knew I needed to get sober. I chose not to. I went back to it thinking like, oh yeah, this will be the last time for sure. And then you do it and you're like, that was the last time I was going to do it, in a sense that I was not in control of. It's like, oh yeah, that was the last time you were going to do it, but now you're screwed forever. And I was like, oh, you know, just, I mean, the sense of foreboding and just despair could not have peaked harder. And I feel like I was going to be stuck with that feeling forever. There was no fluctuating emotions. There's no like happiness, then sadness and happiness. You know how we kind of go through based on a day. This was pure despair forever, being cut off from God. And I think that's exactly what hell is. I think hell is you're locked from the inside, and you're cut off. So, you know, I went, you know, and I woke up. I remember praying, saying like, you know, Lord, just help me, you know, for the 1800th time. So I woke up and I remember being so to this day, I remember how grateful I was that I woke up and everything just had color. And I actually literally kissed the ground when I woke up, and I was like, and that was it. You know, I never did Xanax after that. That was it. And I've been sober for like 6 years, but, you know, I think people think, you know, why would God create us just to send us to hell and stuff? But it's like, that's the price of free will, in its heaviest sense. You know, it's like, it's difficult sometimes to not feel sorry for ourselves and gives up the things that we think are going to help us. But, you know, if you're struggling with addiction and stuff and or anything, I mean, you can be delivered from it. You can. It's hard, and you pray, and, you know, God's grace is sufficient, but you can be delivered for it. And like the thing, I never thought I could live without Xanax. I often thought to myself, like, there's no way. My anxiety is so bad. I used to blush a lot, and it would just be so painful to face this. But it's like, I feel more free now than I ever have in my entire life. Just relying on, you know, the Lord and being sober and all this and that. And you can do it. You can get through it. You could be guided, and you could be delivered. You don't want to end up in that place. I guarantee it. You know, so just, you know, I was hoping to make this video to maybe give people some insight on, you know, what that might be, whether that was, you know, extremely legit or not. I mean, that was a small taste of it. And that woke me up. That really woke me up. So, you know, if, I don't know if I have anything else to add to that, but I know how difficult addiction can be, and anxiety for that matter. I still deal with it sometimes, but it's like, hard times come, but it passes. You know, it fluctuates up and down, and eventually you learn to just see it as a blessing. Because I notice the times I rely on God the most, and I'm the most connected to the Lord, is when I'm having trouble. You know, no matter what, whether that be with relationships, whether that be with like breathing, or like just trying to not freak out, I feel connected. But when everything's going great, I'm extremely happy and stuff, you almost forget. You know, I try to about God. So I try not to ever put myself in that place where I'm forgetting about, you know, God, because that's a dangerous spot. You're like, oh no, I'm good now. You know what? You know, yeah, call me back. You know, call me back. I'm gonna go, you know, do something else. And then when I'm sad, I'll pray and ask, and, you know, try to get your guidance and stuff. But right now, you know, I'm at a picnic. So no, it's just no matter what, you know, God is more real than anything. I guarantee it. And hell is too. And being cut off from the blessings and the reality we have is a terrifying place to be. So just, if you're struggling, I just open your heart, pray about it, and that's it. You know, try to cultivate a relationship with God. I don't know if you don't believe in God or you do and stuff, but I guarantee, you know, no matter what you're struggling with, the more you pray and the more you try to ask God, like, I can't do this, the more he's going to make you like his son. And the more he makes you like his son, the more these things will naturally fall away from you. You'll still deal with fear and anxiety sometimes, but it's going to be different. You're going to see it in a different light, you're going to feel it in a different light, and you'll get through it in a different light. And you're not going to be getting through it by yourself. Just don't rely on these things that look like a blessing, but it's just poison. It's like, I don't have any doubt that people can probably take that kind of stuff, like medications, Xanax, in like a healthy way, right? But I can't. It's like 2 feels great, but snorting 10 in my face feels better. So I don't have that. That just is not me. I can never do that. So just tell you, come to the Lord and ask him to deliver you, and just cultivate that relationship, because that's more important than anything else. Our heart is always looking for something here to take us away from this pain and stuff, and to be fulfilled by something. But we all know deep in our hearts that nothing in this world is going to fulfill us in the way we want. And then we get mad because this thing's not fulfilling us the way we want, because it's not supposed to. We're born and we're put in this world to glorify God and to have a relationship with God, to love and be loved. And that's pretty much it. And to strive to just make the world a better place, make yourself a better place, right? If you destroy your house, who's going to live in there? And you're the house, you're the temple of God. So I know people out there struggling with anxiety and, depersonalization and stuff. I know firsthand how ridiculously difficult that can be. But it does pass, and you'll see it through a different mindset. Just cling to God, and just pray, read, get rid of things, that don't serve a purpose. I actually got rid of my TV because I was tired of watching it, and some things will tempt you, you know what I mean? Like sexually, some things will tempt you on TV, and it's like, sometimes you, like Jesus said, you gotta, if your hand is, getting you in trouble, you gotta cut it off and throw it away, right? So it's like, sometimes that's what you gotta do. Young men struggle with pornography and stuff, and but it's like it never fulfills you. It fulfills you for 2 seconds, but you're just tying the noose around your neck tighter and tighter until it's gonna hang you. So just everybody, hang in there and stick with it, and just keep pushing to be more like the Lord, and keep pushing to just have better self-discipline, and pray for that hurt spot I need to heal, because that's usually where it comes from family issues or rejection or abandonment, and I deal with all those too, and it's a tough spot. So I pray for people to just ask, Lord, show me where that root is. The axe is at the root of the tree, and sometimes we need to just see that root and pluck it out of the ground, or just heal it, or just get some insight, like what is really going on in my mind right now that I'm clinging to these things. What needs to be heard in me? What do I need to see that I'm not seeing? And usually that's the best thing to pray for, because when you can finally see what it is you're trying to either run away from or cover up, you can start to get the new tools on how to cultivate a better option to deal with that pain, instead of numbing it, making it worse, and having 800 weeds come up and then dealing with all those on top of it. So we're blessed, and sometimes it doesn't feel like it. I know we live in a great country, we have food, warm house, for the most part, and it's like it's good to help others too with our blessings, because sometimes that's the point. We're so blessed that we need to help others. Just reach out to me if anybody has any questions on anxiety or depersonalization. I'm like an expert in that now, just from dealing with it. It's so ridiculous sometimes, but it ends up being just another thing. You're like, oh, this again, here we go. It actually hasn't happened for a while. I haven't been that depersonalized. Just been reading a lot, and it's just, yeah, it's been good. So if anybody has any questions, I love you guys, and reach out to me if you have any questions, or even if you have some rebuttals. I'm just sending out my 2 cents. So see ya.